that gets me to my high school baseball rankings. And look, I'm having fun with it. I've released, I guess, I started it on my social media, so you can go back and look at my Twitter page, at Rusty_Hendricks. So I did a preseason ranking. I did, a couple weeks in. So I think this will be my fourth ranking now that I have done. I did one last week. I'm gonna try to start doing these each week. Start releasing them because, hey, I ruffled some feathers. I ruffled some feathers last week. So I was like, you know what? People seem to keep an eye on it and enjoying it. And all right. I say enjoying it. Some enjoyed, maybe some, most did not. That's okay. It's my opinion. You're welcome to yours. My only thing, hey, if you disagree, that's fine. And but give me reasons why. Don't just say, I don't like the ranking. That's bad. Bad ranking. All right. Why? Tell me. Give me the explanation. And this is what I'm going to give you an explanation for mine. So my criteria has kind of changed a little bit. But I'm going on, a lot of it I'm going on is my gut, to be honest with you, okay? Just my opinion, what I think, what kind of the eye test is, it takes a high priority. I'm looking at overall resume, okay? I'm looking at strength of schedule. I'm looking at head-to-head matchups. All of that at least factors in, okay? Obviously, what class you're in, your record, things like that, all of that is part of it. But again, a lot of it goes with my gut. When I think of, okay, if these two teams haven't played yet, if they have played with one another, who would win? If you played in a series, best 2 out of 3, which team would probably win? Okay, if you look at common opponents from these teams, okay, what did one team do against, let's say, how did Cape Central do against, Poplar Bluff? All right. How did Notre Dame do against Poplar Bluff? All right. Compare. And that helps out as far as the ranking. So anyway, that's kind of how I'm going about it. Change week by week. At least that's the plan, to have these out each week. But let's go. Without further ado, Rusty's top 10 high school baseball rankings, courtesy of SEMO ESPN.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment you've all been waiting for.
It's time for the final countdown. Are you ready?
Can I please have your attention? And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
We are going to have a serious conversation about the number one team in our power rankings this week.
Sports are awesome, which is why we have a top 10
best.
Top 10 teams.
Top 10. Hey, let's hit some power rankings.
Top 10, top 10, top 10, top 10.
Tell me who's in your top 10, who's in your top 10. Wanna hear my name, so I keep going and saying, hey.
Number one team, the Jackson Indians. They stay on top of my rankings. They've been atop the rankings since the preseason. They remain. They've done nothing to come out of the rankings. They got another win the other night. They got a win over Poplar Bluff, 8-5. They are undefeated in the SEMO Conference. They're 6-0 in the SEMO Conference. Conference tournament, by the way, is going to be next weekend, so we'll have a lot of SEMO Conference tournament talk next weekend. But Jackson's number one, ranked team in Class 6. There's not a better team. They're just not. Do they have the best record among every team in the area? Well, no. But you can't tell me anybody's played a tougher schedule than Jackson. They're number one. Okay, this one was tough on me. My number two guys, I went with Poplar Bluff. I went with Poplar Bluff as my number 2 ranking for the area. My number 3 is Cape Central. So Cape Central, if they would have won over Sykeston, I think I probably would have had them number 2. But because of that loss and kind of projecting some of the common opponents, things like that, the eye test, what I've seen both of the teams. I think Bluff might be slightly better. Might be. Okay, look at common opponents. Poplar Bluff, a loss against Notre Dame. Cape Central a win, however. Poplar Bluff a win against Sikeston. Central a loss. But here's kind of one of the differentiating factors. You look at a common opponent like Kelly. Poplar Bluff won 10-0 against Kelly. Cape Central won 3-2. Something to throw out there. But Poplar Bluff, based on the eye test, my gut, I have them number 2, Cape Central number 3. Moving all the way up to number 4 in leapfrogging a team. This is going to ruffle some more feathers. My Chaffee fans are not going to be happy with me. That's all right. Scott City is number 4 in my rankings this week. And I have Chaffee, the Red Devils, at number 5. So Chaffee is number 5. Scott City is leapfrog Chaffee to number 4. Now, some of those fans saying, wait a minute, you had Chaffee ahead of Scott City last week. I did. And Scott City, Chaffee was able to get a good win against Bernie. That's solid. That's probably their best opponent they've played, or best win, maybe. Them. So you look at some common opponents. They both played Kelly. Okay. Had a better spread. Was Chaffee over Scott City with Kelly, however. Scott City has wins over East Prairie, Delta, Bernie, Meadow Heights. They have a better margin of victory in those games. Scott City's 20-1. Chaffee is undefeated. However, Scott City's played a tougher schedule. They have better wins overall in their schedule. And again, you look at the eye test right now, I just give them a slight edge. Again, that can change. Chaffee, we've talked about it before. They're going to start playing some tougher opponents coming up. That can change. And they can maybe, they're going to face off against Scott City later in the year. But right now, I don't fault Scott City that much because of the one loss. And that was against Sikeston, who is in my top 10 rankings. That's a ranked team. So, anyway, that's where I have it, and that's why Scott City 4, Chaffee 5. Valley Catholic is in the rankings this week. Now, I didn't originally have them because they're really honestly out of our coverage area, but you know what? I'm expanding it. I'm changing the rules. I'm changing the rules. They're part of it. I'm going to go. So my kind of radius here from St. John down to the Boot Hill. That's my radius, okay? I'm not including like Farmington, Park Hills, things like that. St. John, basically, so Valley Catholic and St. John High School, that's basically my extension down and a little bit west, okay? So Valley Catholic is 6th. I have Notre Dame 7th. Valley beat Notre Dame. That's why they have the edge, okay? Valley Catholic, 14-7. They played DeSmet last night. I mean, what Class 1 school or Class 2 school is going and playing teams like DeSmet around this area? They're not doing it. So Valley Catholic has shown they have some good wins. They've played some good opponents. They're number 6 in my rankings. Notre Dame 7. Now, Notre Dame got a good win against Kennett. They beat St. Pius this week, but they have a loss to Cape Central. They have a loss yesterday to Kelly. That's probably their worst loss that they have had this year. Not a good loss. They've moved down all the way from the top 4. They're now number 7, Notre Dame. Now, that could increase. We'll see if they have Sikeston on Monday, weather permitting. They have a conference tournament coming up. Notre Dame can improve. But right now, that's where they're at. All right. Sikeston is number 8. And again, we told you that Notre Dame and Sikeston scheduled to play Monday. Sikeston's 8. They got a good win over Cape Central. That was solid. But they also have had some losses in there as well. We mentioned the win over Scott City. So Sikeston is capable. They have the ability, but they haven't been overly consistent. So 9-5 record. They're working to improve. Is Sikeston? They have a loss to Jackson, Poplar Bluff, Kennett, but they do have wins against Dexter and Scott City. 9-5. Saxony is my ninth spot in the rankings. Saxony this year, 12-2, wins over Kelly, East Carter, Oran. They have a loss to Valley Catholic, loss to Scott City. That's why they're behind those two teams. But Saxony, number 9, they can pitch it. and they're playing some good baseball. And moving into my top 10 for the first time is Neelyville. Neelyville's been impressive. 14-4-1 record. They beat East Carter. They beat Bernie, East Prairie. Caruthersville is having a solid year. Only one of their tough losses, Scott City. And that was yesterday. So Neelyville, number 10. I have other teams just outside my top 10. Dexter, Greenville, East Carter, Portageville, Kennett, Oran, Advance, all of those teams just outside my top 10. So here's my top 10 once again. Jackson, number 1. Poplar Bluff, 2. Cape Central, 3. Scott City, 4. Chaffee, 5. Valley Catholic, 6. Notre Dame, 7. Sykeston, 8. Saxony, 9th. Neelyville, 10th. Those are Rusty's top 10 rankings. All right. You can debate it. I'll post it on social media later. I'm sure people will not be happy with it. That's all right. We'll do it again next week, and then you can debate that one. So those are my top 10 rankings for high school baseball.